So you're at 82,721 is your HELOC currently. It has a 600 payment. Then you have the Yukon, which is 19,966. Now, if I were in your situation, this is 102,687 for those two. HELOC and Yukon, and that is 450. So these two would be wiped out if you just put these into the one fund, this HELOC. The reason is because when the 6,200 or whatever extra money that you get goes into here, this is going to satisfy this payment, so you no longer have that. Now you're doing your income in. Now, that cleared up 1,050, but where you have the two properties, that's pushing you over. Plus, like I said, some of your expenses are pushing you over. So the easy fix is to use this fund until you do the sell on those properties. Okay, that way it takes all the pressure off with paying the bills, because the monthly mortgage payments are going to be coming out of this as well. Then whatever you all make goes in, and then those expenses come back out. So I don't know how quickly you're thinking that maybe the properties would sell.
Well, these two particular ones we were going to keep. I didn't even include the two that are going to sell, because the real estate agent, she's my broker, she said they would move quickly. So I didn't even waste time on those. These two they're the ones that are got the least amount, and they've got long-term tenants in them, or so far they've got long-term tenants.
So are they paying?
Off and on Christmas. Usually they catch up around tax returns, so around March, but January to December is rough. Christmas and trying to get them to pay, and then by the time you go through the 30-day notice to kick them out, they're ready to catch back up.
That's horrible.
Oh, it's been, we did it as like a retirement. Yeah, so it's not been what we thought. So that's what we were thinking. If we could focus on getting them paid off, the ebbs and flows of them paying throughout the year wouldn't hurt us as bad, because there would be no mortgage. It'd just be taxes and insurance. Because sometimes there's been years where they've done okay. The Midland Trail, they've done okay. But then there's some, like I said, you don't know when it's going to hit, and you don't know if you're going to have to carry them for 3 months and then they catch up. But during those 3 months, I have to pay the mortgages, and it's been hard.
Well, it's not hard when you're living out of the line.
Okay.
So if you would take your mind off of it coming out of your income and say, no, all of the expenses come out of the line.
Okay.
Now you don't worry about how you're going to make a payment. Okay. You're just going to make it. But, after the catch up, it would all go back into this line, which would catch that back up as well. That's how people that are like myself, we're self-employed. And so, some people make 0 1 month and they'll make 10,000 the next, or, they'll be zeroed out for, 2 or 3 months, and then they'll come up and have a big one. So you're kind of going to have to think along those lines, because you're not in trouble. You just feel like you're in trouble. The line of credit is used for what you need right here. So if you pay the $758 for 3 months, which I wouldn't be relaxed on that. They need to pay their bills. But as soon as they pay, it just goes right back into this line. The bank doesn't care how you're using the line. They just want to see it revolving. So your income going into the line is going to be satisfying this payment. If you pay off the Yukon, put it in here. You could pay off the homes and put it in here. The only problem with that is you're going to pay a little bit more interest, but you're paying 8.25% on that one, and that's highway robbery.
It is.
You're going to go ahead.
So I have an elementary question. When you say put it in, so I know one of the videos you talked about, get away from using the checking account and use the line. So if we have direct deposit. So when my husband's check comes in, it's direct deposited. How does that work? Do I just write the check from the checking account into the HELOC every Friday?
Well, now, is it not linked? If it's linked to the checking account,
it's two different.
Okay, then yes, banks. You would. However, you get it in there, yes.
So I could keep that. Okay, and then write the check from.
I mean, if that's the way you have to do it, it would be ideal if it was with your bank, or you had a checking account with this First National Bank. That would be the ideal. But I don't want you to feel stressed because I can feel it, that you're all really up
Yes.
to here.
Yes.
Another thing is your husband, if he's paid weekly, then he's getting extra checks every now and again. So that's another thing that's going to keep this funded pretty good. It's the, if you can cut living expenses, that's going to be your big one. If you pay off the 2 properties into this, you're going to save yourself a killing because you're getting eat up right now with interest. So every dime your husband's making that he pays into these 2 mortgages, I don't know how long you've had the mortgages, but you're getting robbed. I mean, that's just literally, I hope you haven't been in them too long, have you?
It's 5 years. Yeah. December made 5 years.
So you've paid a lot of interest, but you've paid that probably where they were taking probably 95% of your payment for interest, you might be getting some paid towards your houses now, but not much. It's just dirty the way they do that. So let me see here. If you have 74,096, but I wouldn't stress too much about, because the whole total on the both homes and the Yukon and the HELOC comes to 176,783. So in the event you put the checks directly into this whole amount every month, any cash flow that you end up having is going to be working this down. But you've stopped the rest of the interest on the homes. You've now picked up some interest here in this, and if it's an 8.62%, and this isn't including your parents either, or whoever's parents you're paying.
Yeah, mine. That 8.62. Is that what I think that it's changes every month with prime? Is
that
how you would say that?
It doesn't change every month. It usually, whenever the feds raise it or lower it, then whatever, because I think right now it's 8.5, I think, unless they dropped it recently, but I think it's still 8.5. But that stops the interest on your Yukon, on your 2 homes, and then now you're paying interest on that HELOC, which is the best interest you can pay, because the other 3 are amortized schedules that you're paying all interest up front. So that being said, let's just see what that's going to be. The point being that you're not going to have any debt now. You're just going, besides the HELOC, but you're not going to have any debt payments. You're just going to have your living expenses. And I'm showing them at 6581. So see, just with showing that minimum, the 6,200, you're going to be in the hole. But if they pay their payments, then you're going to be above, which is going to be bringing this balance kind of down every month. What it is your interest. The more you can throw into this, of course, the less the interest is going to be. So in the event that you get tax refunds, anything like that, they can go in here. Any extra checks your husband gets, a couple times a year, anything like that is going to bring this down, but you're just living off of this. So it's kind of freedom, because I myself literally go into my account every day because I'm paid daily on some things. And that day, I don't care if it's $30 or if it's $3,000, I will transfer it into my HELOC every day. Every time any money sits in my checking, it doesn't for a day because I transfer it. That's the way you need to think too, because every dime you can get into this account is going to reduce that interest charge, which is going to help you.
My husband used to, he kind of just his rule of thumb, he's a little bit older than me, so we got married later in life, and he would say, now when, hand me over the bills and everything, and we've done stuff, he would say, I've trained myself to keep $10,000 in my checking account. That's my buffer. That's my safety net. So don't let our checking account get below that. So that's a rule of thumb that we've operated on. So what do I do with cash? You don't really keep cash.
Yeah, I don't keep cash ever in the bank. I don't know. Since that's your all's agreement, of course, that needs to stay there. But
well, he's flexible. Okay. We're learning.
I mean, any dime you put in here, like I said, that's just going to reduce the debt that you're paying. I would talk to him about that and see how he feels about it. Since this HELOC is the first lien on your property, basically, because that's all that's with the bank is the HELOC. You're safe with it. When I say safe, meaning if it was a second position HELOC and you had a mortgage and then the HELOC, then if we had a market crash or something like we did in 2008, they can freeze the HELOCs, the second position. That's never happened with the first position HELOC, but not that it won't. It just didn't happen in 2008. So you kind of got to keep that in the back of your mind. So if you have $10,000 in credit cards, I would tell your husband, say, hey, we have credit in the event we have an emergency. That's what I do, is I keep the credit lines open. And then if I have something that I have to buy, or if I have my refrigerator go down or whatever, I have something to buy it. So he can look at it that way. Another thing is, do you know your credit score?
Oh, last time we checked, he was like 730, 740, and I think I'm right at 600, 780 something, or not 780. See, I go between 690 and 700, something
So
like that.
another thing that you could do that would really be good is to, you and him both, get some 0% credit cards. So let's say you got two, and let's say they were 15,000 each. You could pay off one of the homes basically with that. So you've stopped all the interest.
Oh, okay.
I love that.
How do you do that with the credit?
Okay, so when you get a credit card, you ask them for convenience checks, and you write it to yourself.
Oh.
So that's what I do. I do two things with 0% credit card. One, if my HELOC has a balance that I'm thinking, because like one time I got it up to 100,000 because I made loans out to companies. And I was like, I don't like that sitting on there. So I got 0% credit cards and transferred about 30,000 of it off, just because that's $216 a month in interest. So when I pulled that off and let it sit over there because it's 14 to 24 months is what a 0% is, that you don't have to even mess with it. You just pay minimum payments, and every minimum payment is going towards that principal. In a HELOC, you would be paying that $216. So I use it for that. And the other thing I do is when I pay my taxes, I have a 0% credit card ready, and I put my taxes on that, pay it off through the IRS. That way it's out of their hands. They can't charge me fees and penalties. I'm done with them. Now it's sitting over here. Keep that stuff in mind like that. 0% are awesome. And when you get one, just ask for convenience check. Discover is the only card that I know doesn't do convenience checks. So, like Chase, I believe, does, Citi, all of those. So that's something that you guys could check into, because that would keep your interest off of your HELOC while you're working down your HELOC with monies coming in. Like I said, if you could get those and just pay off that Kentucky Farmers Bank at Midland, that thing is ridiculous. So you've got a few things to work with here. Like I said, I've worked with a whole lot worse. Okay, so you let me know if you have any questions. All right.
No problem. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
All right, bye-bye.